Hello, and first rant of the day. If you go into one of these big all-around stores that are pretty much selling anything from diapers to bulk throwers, and you're interested about prices of individual products, please find them out before getting into the cash out line or checkout line with a cart full of stuff. Use your eyes. I assume you can read and understand numbers, and if you can't find the prices, ask from the staff. Do not get into the line and then when it's your turn start arguing about prices of individual products. Because one, you're pissing everybody off, yourself included, and two, there's an ever-growing line behind you wanting to get the heck out of there. So now when that's out of the way, hello again. And answer to the question, what happened earlier this year? I started a new daily vlog series and then all of a sudden I disappeared. Well, when I started that series I actually had the time to do it, and I had plenty of time to do it. But then things took a very rapid 180 and the time was gone, and I had to make a decision between three things: YouTube, streaming, or sleeping. And you don't need a PhD or whatever that is to solve that problem. So everything else went out and I had to deal with real life stuff. Nothing serious, but time consuming real life stuffs. And well, I could have continued with daily vlogs, but it would have been Groundhog's Day vlogs. You know, one day droning week after week after week. So I decided not to. Obviously I made a mistake not to make a kind of an explanation video of what's going on. But that's nothing new that's nothing new for me, let's put it this way. So now it's summer, actually late summer. Schools started about 2 or 3 weeks ago, so everything's back to normal. So everything's back to usual after the summer holidays and all that stuff. And I'm slowly getting back into streaming. I'm not sure if I will get back to YouTube's, because I really don't have anything to say anymore. At least in Finnish. And I've tried, but well, I have this habit that I don't want to repeat myself too many times. And when I'm trying to make a video in Finnish, I constantly caught myself repeating things that I've said in previous videos, or in some cases in multiple previous videos. So I'm kind of trying to, what is the word or wording, freshening out my palate, something like that, I don't know. And what comes to musical projects, same thing pretty much. I have music, or almost all the musical parts for 2 EPs, but the problem, once again, and I've said it before, lyrics. I don't want to repeat myself as a songwriter either. And since I'm writing in English, what comes to this project I'm working on currently, some Finns have told me that, well, it's in English, you don't have to, well, don't think about it, just write something. People don't care. Well, yes, no, they don't care if you're thinking about Finnish audience, but since I'm self-releasing on the internet, most of the listeners are probably English-speaking people, or at least English is their second language. And if you're writing using your native language, then you have to be a bit more, well, I can't say careful, but you have to put more thought into what you're doing, because obviously you're using a language that everybody around you understands, or majority of people understands. But when you're writing in English, it's easy to just put something, use fancy words and kind of play word games and then put those out. And I've done that in the past, and it's fun to do sometimes. But if you're wanting to write about something that's actually well, serious is not the right word, but you understand what I'm saying. You have to put a lot more thought into it. And then I need someone to proofread the lyrics, if that's the right wording again, because obviously English is my, well, I can say it's my second language. Second official language in Finland is Swedish, but just hemskt what comes to my Swedish, and I think I just butchered that too. Anyways, but what comes to music, I made a pretty neat discovery actually a while back now. I was going through books that are in my part of the bookshelf. Our whole apartment is one big bookshelf, but still. And I found a user's manual for FL Studio 8. And that was released, I don't know, almost 10 years ago, I think. Actually, well, about 10 years ago, if I'm not mistaken. And between that user's manual was the actual installation disc, the actual CD for FL Studio 8. So I reinstalled it to my current PC, and it still works, although you can't upgrade it for free to a newer version because it's old enough that it's not upgradable anymore. And I made a few demos with it just to see how it works and just to kind of rememorize how it works. And pretty soon I found out why I stopped using it in the first place. Because of Edison. Edison is a, well, obviously FL Studio 8 has an early version of Edison, which is it's an audio recording plugin for FL Studio, and it's good for if you want to add some audio clips to your songs, or if you want to record samples, for example. But if you want to do what I originally was thinking that I was going to be doing with it, was to record an actual vocal tracks, guitar tracks and all that stuff, it's not all that good for that. You can use it for that, but it's not the best around, or it's not most convenient thing around. But there's one small thing that I like about it, and that's called Rewire. So you can, well, obviously nowadays I'm using Reaper. So you can use, through Rewire, you can use FL Studio as a slave for Reaper. So you can program things in FL Studio and you can play them back in Reaper. So that's one of the neat things to do, because MIDI programming and using different kinds of let's say electronic elements, you can do it in Reaper, but it's much easier in FL Studio. So now I can use both in tandem, so yay! So that's what comes to musical things. I would like to talk about my day-to-day life, what it is right now, but there's really not much going on. So in that sense also it's a bit of a Groundhog's Day as we speak. So it's, if I'm not at work, I'm at home reading. If I'm not doing any of those, I'm trying to sleep. So that's pretty much it. Today I'm going to be streaming again, and there are only two games that I'm interested about currently: DayZ and Destiny 2. And I've been asked to stream more Black Ops 4, but solo queuing in a Call of Duty Rainbow Six Siege hybrid beat against stacks of 6 or 5 is not my idea of having fun. So yay. Although new Modern Warfare is coming out, and I think it was yesterday when I was asked if I'm going to get it. Not from the get-go was my answer. I want to see how it looks, how it plays out before actually getting it myself, because Black Ops 4, although I didn't pay for it, I got it as a gift, but that was a bit of a wasted money. Hello, I forgot to film the end or the ending for yesterday's video or previous video, so whoopsie, once again, my bad. And I don't remember if I talked about it, probably I did, but yesterday I found out that Skasius's channel was down, or not the channel, videos were down, they weren't there. But when I go to the my notifications, they were there, but when I tried to view them, it said that this video contains material from partner Skasius, the video is blocked. And I went, what? And today I found out why. Because Skasius posted a video to his backup channel explaining what was going on. So the thing was that, or the thing is, that he got kicked from the network he was part of. And in that process, for some reason, he lost the ownership for his own videos, or to his own videos copyright-wise, and that's why they are blocked worldwide. And he contacted YouTube, and YouTube said, well, go to your network. Well, and his network said, well, it's not our problem, go to YouTube support. So, yay. Automation, automation, digitalized society. And then people are asking, why am I so not trusting what comes to networks, and why I want to maintain independence, or why I want to keep my own independency copyright wise. There's one of the reasons for you. And yesterday I did a stream, although it turned out to be a test stream, because earlier yesterday I found out that my GPU temperatures were going high, lower 90s Celsius, and that's not normal. So I cleaned all the internals, and to be sure I also reinstalled all the drivers. I did a clean wipe and reinstalled everything. And when I did that test stream yesterday, everything was working fine. But when I look at the temp logs, GPU was running high, CPU normal, and the internal temperature of the case normal. That doesn't add up, because I had logs. Well, it's a 4-hour period, and if GPU is running that hot, it should build heat inside the case, but there's nothing indicating that in the temp logs. So I assume that I have a faulty sensor somewhere, and I really hope that the battery doesn't die. There was a Kouvola Pride event last weekend, and I had 2 batteries with me, and I lost one of them. So now I only have 2 batteries for this camera. The original one, that's pretty much dead. Well, you can charge it and you can use it for something like, I don't know, 10-15 minutes, and then it dies. And then I have this. And since this is an old camera, or well, relatively old, 6 years, or is it 6? Yeah. They don't make the batteries anymore. Or when I was trying to find, some years ago, I was trying to find spare batteries for this thing, and they were hard to find. I managed to find some, but they were a bit hard to find. So I think I have to, later this year, I have to upgrade my camera, because this battery is also pretty used, so it doesn't hold charge all that well. And because I'm using this camera mainly for video, it drains more power, so I think I have to upgrade. But I don't want to. I mean, this camera is basically this camera has been basically my babe since what, 2013 or something like that. So it will be hard to give up this camera. But now I was taking a walk. The ladies of the family decided that they want something sweet. So off to the shop we go. And today's also, I have a stream later today. I think I'll be playing DayZ. And that's one of the few games that I can play these days. Because Battlefield, well, down the drain. I think I already mentioned this yesterday. Battlefield, no go. Battlefield 5, I mean, no go. And Black Ops 4, well, playing a Call of Duty Rainbow Six Hybrid is not my idea of fun. So there are very, very few games that I want to play currently. That's pretty much Destiny 2 and DayZ at the moment. And well, Scum, it was fun when it first came out, but then they decided to go, or they decided to create a battle royale game without a winner and with base building. So, because it's not really a survival game. Although there are survival elements and there are cool concepts in Scum. I have to give it that. But what comes to the actual survival side of things, not really. And with all the fame points that they have, if you do something in the game, you gain fame points. And you can use those fame points when you die. You can use them to spawn in wherever you want. So let's say that you're in a firefight with 2 players. You have to kill both of them twice. Because when you kill one, well, that guy respawns back to his buddy. So now you have, again, 2 versus 1. Then you kill another one, well, he spawns back to his buddy. Now it's still 2 versus 1. So you have to kill both of them twice in order to actually claim the loot. And that's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. I mean, it would be better if you can choose the spawn point, but not to the not near to your buddies. So you would have to run, let's say something like, well, let's pull it from the hat, out from the hat, let's say 2 kilometers. There's a 2 kilometer perimeter and you can't spawn into that perimeter. So it would balance things out, but you can't really win 2v1s in that game. And the other thing is that when you first spawn in, there's military loot very close to you. All you have to do is get past the droids that are guarding the loot, and then hope that there's nobody inside the bunker where you're going into. But still, it doesn't feel like a survival game. It's more like, well, as I said earlier in my streams, and I think in a few of these videos, it's battle royale without winner, with base building. And base building is something that always destroys survival games to me, because when you don't have a base, you have to actively roam around with your gear. And let's say that, well, in DayZ, or let's go even further, in Just Survive, there were these crates that you could make, or stashes, that you can use to hide stuff. But when you die, you go to your stash, you get it from there, and then you have at least something. And in DayZ you can also bury a crate with stuffs in it, so you don't lose everything. But what comes to base building, well, one it bogs the servers, so their server performance gets worse because there's so much loot that needs to be rendered in and needs to be, yeah. But in a game where there is no bases, where there are no bases, the servers are running smoothly, or more smoothly. And the best example that comes to mind is Rust. When there's a Rust server that hasn't been wiped for a while, it gets pretty bad performance-wise. But I remember going into these Battlefield servers where building was unchecked, so you couldn't build anything, you could just shoot. The performance was great. And same thing in other survival games. If you go to an area where there are no bases, servers are working fine. But closer you get to the well, let's say highly populated areas where there are a lot of bases, where there are a lot of loot inside those bases, server performance goes down drastically. And if you played Just Survive, when it was around, you probably remember going into Pleasant Valley from the south side of the city. It was terrible frame-wise, and especially if you played on a PvE server. There were bases after bases after bases on the south side of Pleasant Valley. And it was fun to play that game. First you had 65 frames. Well, I locked my frames to 65. First you have 65, then all of a sudden your frames go down to, let's say, 15. Okay, I'm getting near Pleasant Valley. Because you knew it. You knew it. So base building is my pet peeve what comes to survival games. You shouldn't be able to build bases. I mean, you should be able to stash things. So when you die, you don't have to start from scratch. There's always something you can keep. But and another problem is that, well, especially in DayZ, people care too much about their loot or what they have on them, and that causes the KOS phenomenon, in my opinion. People don't want to lose what they have. So that's why if you're trying to approach them as a friendly player, they shoot you immediately. Well, one thing is that they want to shoot things. That's, well, understandable. You can do that. That's not prohibited. But the fear of having an interaction where the end result is unknown, people or people seem to be afraid of that. But that's the whole thing in survival games. You meet someone, you don't know what they're going to do. You can see what they're going to do, because if they don't have a gun in their hand and you do, then you have the upper hand, because you can see the animation. If they're trying to pull a gun out, you can see that animation and you can react. And if you both have guns in your hand, well, it's still a tie. It can go either way. And another thing about survival games is Discord, which is a problem. Because, well, if you have TeamSpeak, that's not free. As far as I know, you have to pay for using TeamSpeak. But now when anybody can have a free Discord server or free Discord, not fun. Not fun at all, because let's say that you play in a server where it's against the rules to use Discord, TeamSpeak, Mumble or whatever. People have to actually use in-game VoIP. Or for example in DayZ, you would have to use in-game VoIP and radios. Then you're not a silent killer, because you have to make your presence known if you want to coordinate. Obviously if you're too close to the person you want to attack, you would have to be very careful. But now when you can use Discord, you can just talk to your friends without anybody knowing it. So it's the silent killer phenomenon that I get so used to in Rust. You have a bunch of naked guys killing you, not saying a word, and then calling you a noob. Why am I not playing Rust? Oh yeah, that's the reason. Oh well, Rust is meant to be played in a group. It's not meant to be played solo. You can play it solo, but it's not meant to be played alone. But anyways, I think I'll head off and cut this ramble here. Mainstream YouTube is really not for me what comes to video creator, because I can't stop rambling. Ramble. But that's the problem when because I haven't made public videos for a while. That's kind of an issue currently, because the only videos I've made for a while have been kind of a private video responses, private video exchange, having conversations through videos. And that's when you can ramble more. You can talk about something for, I don't know, 30 minutes, because it's part of the conversation and you're exchanging ideas and so forth. But trying to make a sweet vlog, 5 minutes or less, can't do it, won't do it. But anyways, I'm working on a song, as you can see here on my tools, once again. And working title of this one is called Corroded Angels. Just pulled it out from that because I needed a title to go with. And it would be nice to do more collaboration projects over the internet, because when you're doing stuff alone, that's one of the things that appeal to many people what comes to kind of a one-man project and singer-songwriter things, is that you don't have to do compromises with anyone. You can do whatever you want, however you like. That's a plus side, but that's also a downside. It's a minus side, because when you're doing things with someone else, you have an external filter through that other person who can kind of shape your ideas, or maybe say, maybe we should try it this way. Your way is good, but maybe we should try this. And in the end, you may find that that's the right thing to do. But when you're working all by yourself, you don't have that filter. You are your own filter. And sometimes you just fall in love with your own ideas so much that you can't see that those ideas are a dead end. And then when you finally realize it, and you hopefully realize it at some point, then you have to backtrack and do all this kind of a work that's not necessary, probably, maybe, when working with other people. And since we are living in the days of the internet, collaborating with other people is easy. Or kind of creating an internet band is easy, because you can send MIDI files and audio tracks from one person to another. And I've done some projects where everyone is living somewhere in the world. So first someone does, let's say, a keyboard part with a click track. Someone plays bass on it, and then sends it to someone who plays guitar, and that person sends it to someone who does the vocals, and finally the end result goes to, let's say, India, where some guy mixes it. And that's fun. That's fun stuff, because then you have the time kind of to work things out. You don't have to react in the moment, although I prefer reacting in the moment approach, but still. It would be nice to collaborate with other people more, and I'm open what comes to suggestions. Wink wink. It's almost 8 o'clock, 8 p.m, so I think I'll have to start the stream here pretty sharpishly. And I had something I wanted to mention, but I don't remember what that something is. Well, anyways, maybe I'll remember it later. So, see ya.